Sean and I have a special guest from Springfield Armory, Mr. Steve Kramer. Steve, how you doing, bud?
Good, guys. How you doing? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problems.
Thanks for coming on.
So we are in the studio in Geneseo today. Reached out to Steve a couple weeks ago, see if he'd be willing to come in and record an episode. So Sean drove in from Indianapolis in typical Sean fashion. He's over here falling half asleep, but I'm sure he's going to wake up. So
I'm old. I need my nap.
that's right.
It will come.
The Geritol and the nap. So, Steve, so you're new to the area, right?
Oh, yeah. Very new. About 6 months. Came on as VP of Marketing at Springfield and, just doing my thing now.
So I was born and raised here in Geneseo, and there's one thing that I'm not throwing stones by any stretch of the imagination, but there's one thing that I feel growing up and seeing Springfield Armory, watching the Reese family take it over from their dad and run with it. But there's one thing that has, in my perspective, has remained constant, and it was, and I'll use the word reluctancy for a sheer lack of other term. The reluctancy to go outside of the mold, right? To go outside of, well, this is the way we've always done it. And so we're going to keep going this way. When you and Steve McElvain came on, it was almost like I saw an immediate change, right? So, like, holy cow, these guys aren't from here, and they're going to take this thing and run straight down the field with it. So can you speak to that as far as, coming in there? Obviously, you guys didn't come in there and start swinging around, axes and saying, well, this is the way we're doing it. But changes from where they've been in the past to where they are now. A lot of them, or no?
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, you have to take it back to, all the way back to, I'd say, 1974 when Denny was Denny, the owner of the company now, was young, and his family was, big in the surplus business, and they've successfully taken Springfield Armory from basically acquiring the name and building it up into the, one of the largest gun companies in the world now.
Right.
So they've done some amazing things, and there's been, things done in the past and in their history that was relevant for the time, and it made sense for the time. Now that Denny, he is now the full outright owner of the company, so he no longer splits the ownership with his brother Tom. And so, Denny has his own way of doing things and his own viewpoints. He's really forward thinking and really aggressive as far as things like R&D and new product development, and he's just got a real passion for bringing out what customers want.
Right.
And he's got a really good eye for being able to take a product and make it better. And so that being said, the first one that he brought on was Steve McElvain, who I've had a long history with, going on probably 15 years. Steve and I worked at Benelli together, did a lot of great stuff there, had a real successful run there. After Benelli, I went my own way. Steve went his way, and kind of after Steve got hired at Springfield, he reached out to me, just due to our past and just due to a lot of the projects and a lot of the things that we had done together. Knew it would be a good fit, and offered it to me, and kind of the rest is history.
Oh yeah, man. So we sat down and we had lunch a couple weeks back at a local pub or bar, whatever you want to call it, and I think we had a lot of really good conversation as it pertained to the industry, right? Like, especially in the media side of the industry, that's where Sean and I are. From the tactical world to, the word nerd world, there has been an exorbitant amount of change that has gone that has gone down in just in the last 2 years, right? So, and obviously that starts and essentially stops with the marketing side of the industry. How are you able to come into a company that has the brand loyalty that Springfield does? I mean, there's every company's got them, as you know. So keeping that ball moving down the field, what there any changes that you saw that needed to happen on the short order, or is it pretty much like running itself type of deal?
I mean, there's always going to be changes that have to be made. When you come into any new situation, I have my own way of doing things, and they've had their own way of doing things, which has been, very successful for
Right.
them. I think I just bring a new vision, a new eye. One of the things about Springfield Armory is it's a pretty impressive how long people have worked there.
Oh yeah,
I mean, they have people that have been there for 30 years. They've been 16 years.
Dave Williams at the
12
custom shop.
12 years.
Yep.
I mean, it's quite a family-like environment. So, I think anytime you can get some fresh blood to come in and kind of see things from an outside view, it's a worthwhile thing.
Absolutely.
So you come in with new ideas. What do you protect when you come in? So Springfield's one of those names that's been around for a long time, Colt, et cetera, those type of names that really stand out in the firearms industry. People expect them to be around, and I think people expect them to grow at a certain rate and bring certain products. Then there's the products that have been there, and they're kind of the face of the company, so to speak. What do you protect, or as a new guy coming in like that and you come from another company, do you feel like there's less to protect? Do you come in with a mentality and think, you know what, I know we've always done this and we've always had these, but what if we move these, change these, or does something go on the chopping block?
Sure. No, that's a really good question, and it makes it a lot easier to work within that mindset when you have people within the company who kind of feel the same way, right? So yeah, we've got our flagship things. We've
Right.
got our M1As, right?
Right.
Our legendary, M1A. We've got our 1911. I mean, we're world renowned for our 1911s, right? But we're also embracing new trends. We're also embracing new, really we're really trying to do our best to stay true to what we believe Springfield Armory is, and also listen to our customers and listen to what they're telling us that they want. And for example, we've got our new 911 380. 5-10 years ago, that probably would have not been something that you would have seen Springfield Armory come out with.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a lot of other new things in the pipe that are going to be coming online over the next couple of years that I think will surprise a lot of people. And
Awesome.
and I like that. I just think from especially in the kind of political climate that we're in, never knowing what's going to be the next demonized item.
Right.
I think it's a good thing to not only, one, it gives our customers a broad array of products to choose, but we don't get pigeonholed into one type of product. We diversify the product line. So
let's the trend that you mentioned. Are there any identifiable trends that you know of right now that you can share with us? And also, with this political environment, I imagine it's difficult for a company to know or make a decision on what they're going to do next, because you don't know if you'll be able to recover your costs.
Right.
So you bring out something that's, we'll go down the semi-automatic route, and man, we don't know what's going to happen 6 months from now, so you may not be able to recover. So I assume you're in this spot of, okay, what do we bring out, and then how much inventory or what do we currently make right now that we kind of need to boost up in case everybody goes through this whole this buying spree type of situation.
Sure.
So you have to kind of offset that. So tell us a little bit about any trend that you think that are there that you're hearing about, and then let's talk about how you make those decisions based in this political environment.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely a after 8 years of Obama and constantly waiting for the shoe to drop
Right,
and
right.
and regulations and things. I thought at least now we would have a couple years where we could kind of maybe breathe and kind of
Right.
not have to lie awake at night, wondering what tomorrow will bring.
Yep.
But yeah, that being said, I mean that's the world we live in, and and I think it's just like navigating any kind of business. I mean, we don't have a crystal ball, so it's really just getting all of the intelligence that we can gather and making a decision based on the best information that we have at the time,
Right.
and going with it, and being ready to adjust the plan if necessary. It's that's why I think having a diversified product line is really a really important thing. I wouldn't want to only sell, say, AR-15s right now.
Right.
You know, but a lot of people, a lot of companies, they don't have the option
Right.
to do so.
Right.
So, yeah, it's I'm sure it's keeping a lot of people up at night.
Well, and what's an identifiable trend maybe in the pistol world? I've got my own guesses,
Yeah.
but I'm kind of I've got the pistols that I like and I use them, and I don't know how many changes need to be made or what needs to come out, and that's not to throw other shooters to the curb or anything, but then I think there are things that maybe people are asking for. I wonder what warrants the validity of it, but what trends are you seeing?
I mean, I would say the biggest trend in pistols that we're seeing right now is concealed carry and compact, smaller, higher capacity. That rules the day right now.
Okay.
I'm not seeing a lot of big time push for big, high capacity, full size, duty or combat guns. Not saying that they're not
Right.
still a
Yep.
demand for them. Sure there are, but if I had to say like what is the biggest trend that I'm seeing right now, it's definitely in the concealed carry market is just insane. It's just blown up to be. That's what everybody wants.
So the defensive aspect. So
Yeah.
with that, so with the XD and the M line, and this is a complete sidebar, but the accessories that come with, right? So obviously like with ARs, like a lot of people, first thing they'll do is swap out the trigger, or we have our list of things that we like Sean was just saying. With pistols, especially when it comes to defensive carry, has Springfield kicked around the idea of maybe going for a more conducive holster system, other than like an outside the waistband carry rig, like an appendix carrier, or at least give that an option. Like, hey, we're going to go with company X. Here's the drop down, or here are the specs that you can pick from, outside the waistband, inside the waistband, appendix. Because I think that is one thing, with all, in my opinion, all common defensive pistol platforms, they either come with like I said, or like a range rig, or no rig at all, depending on manufacturer. So, like, is that something to, like you said, give your customer base a more of an option to entice a purchase?
We used to offer a holster option with a number of the pistols. We've just kind of come to the realization that, and that being said, we don't offer holsters anymore.
Oh.
We do offer a pocket
Okay.
holster now with our 911, but it's just such a personal choice. And I mean, trying to come up with a holster that's going to fit everyone is just. I think people would rather us have a discounted price on the firearm itself and allow them to go and
Spend their money
choose
on whatever holster they want.
and choose their
Right.
own. And I mean, now, we have obviously rigs that we could recommend and people that we partner with, but yeah, as far as that, it's just such a personal thing. I think we just stay in our lane and
Do what you're good at.
and make the guns.
That's right. Sean brought up, he and I were talking earlier before you got here. Like circumventing the keyboard warriors or the naysayers or, whoever, and he brought up a good point, and I never really thought about it before, but the people that are complaining, the people that are, chicken lipping, whatever you want to use, whatever you want to call them, like, are they complaining or they just don't know how to vocalize concerns? Like,
Yeah, and especially as it comes to products. Another company released a pistol not too long ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago, and there was a lot of uproar, and it has this, and how could they do that? And I just remember one thing that I read, and it said, no one asked for this. This is what someone wrote. And I thought, how do you speak for every gun owner? Right? It's like, no one asked for this. And so
oh my God, it's not what I want. You're so stupid for bringing that to market.
Right. So
Sure.
these complaints and the internet, and we see all these things, and it's like an uproar, but I don't know that it's complaints as much as it's disappointments, and people don't know how to vocalize that.
Yeah, that's very good point. I mean, you don't go to the supermarket and go to buy laundry detergent and be like, we didn't ask for that.
Right.
I mean,
that scent, how
I
dare
mean,
you use the
yeah,
flowers?
Exactly. Like, but that being said, I mean,
those Tide Pods taste like shit. Wait, what?
But I mean, our gun world, it's a passionate world, and that's why I always say you can't market and you can't treat our industry and our customers like you would any industry, right? I mean, it's not a Samsung TV. It's not a whatever. It's not a widget, right? You don't, it's something that is it's an identity, and it needs to be treated as such for sure. When it comes to those kind of things, yeah, we sit around, we monitor our social media, and a lot of it is just like, good grief, you just sometimes you feel like you just can't win. I think a lot of it is I think you're absolutely right to your assessment there. A lot of it is there are so many choices. People are just, I mean, there's never been so many choices for anything you've wanted in the firearms.
So do you think
world. It's at your fingertips?
Gotten to a point of being overwhelming of sorts that people are just frustrated they can't. They're like, damn, like 10 years ago we had 4 striker guns to choose from. Now it's swing a dead cat and hit somebody that doesn't make one, or ARs for that matter.
Do we have too much? Are we?
Oh, I don't know. I think it'll always work itself out. You know what I mean? I think the good ones will rise to the top, and the other ones will not. A lot of it is just maybe not even so much guns as just how social media is today. People are just angry, and they tend to get on there and just
blast,
vent. They just tend to get on there and just everything's negative, everything is bad.
And we fuel the fire by
right.
Yeah, striker guns ruled. 1911 suck. Whatever that argument that.
I mean, it used to be, you see a product, I'm not really into that product. You just move along.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
You don't, but now you have to, pick up a banner and charge up the hill over it.
Right.
And I think I'm happy for more options. I think that you can get 10 people in a room, and there could likely be 10 different options for people.
Right.
So, yeah, a lot of it is also, managing your social media, not allowing the obvious trolls in. You've got to keep a handle on it, and there's people who have legitimate points and comments, and that's absolutely welcome. But if you have people in there that are just causing trouble, you just get rid of them. I mean, that's really the only way to, or else it just kind of festers and turns into a non-productive thing.
I mean, you're wasting oxygen in the syllables, or in that case, thumb power.
Yeah.
How do you best receive your information for changes to products? So And the reason why I asked this, I still have one of the original XD 9mm Tacticals, 5-inch. I love that gun. I have several thousand rounds on it. No issues other than I had an extractor issue that took a file and fixed many years ago. It's 2004 or 5 or something.
Yep.
And there's been all these different upgrades, and I've never made a switch to any of them. But I see a lot of changes. So where does that feedback come from? Is it coming from, the internet? Is it coming from letters? Is it super users that you have, or people within the company that say, we could improve here? Because I still think that original 9 is one of the really good guns.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little bit of all those things. I think, there are, believe it or not, there are firearms companies out there where the people that work in those companies are not shooters.
Right.
And I've been around them, and it blows your mind. It's how can you possibly market or understand what people want if you
haven't been out there,
if you're not immersed in this
Yep.
world, if you don't go shoot on the weekends, if you're not surfing the gun forums on the weekends, if it's not part of your life, if it's not part of what you love, how can you possibly infiltrate a world? Not infiltrate, but
Right.
How can you possibly get into a world that is this passionate and this
Right.
highly focused on what products need to be? And so I think as far as feedback, very very fortunate that Springfield Armory, I mean, everybody there is shooters. Everybody from the people in the front of the office to the people in the factory. We have people that have, been shooting, competing for 30 years. We can go back and talk to, guys who have been building custom 1911s for 30 years. I mean, it's a pretty broad array of.
So with that, like the vast majority of the custom shop, I shot single stack nationals with the majority of the guys. But 2014 or whenever it was, and these guys are they're getting it, at the Armory, turning, what you would think would be, holy cow, this is a badass pistol, and turning it into something completely different and even better. I had a range officer that just a bone stock range officer that we built up with one of the custom shop guys. And that thing is hands down my favorite pistol because it's a shooter. It's smooth. It's not a race gun. It was, we're just in the regular production class or whatever. No compensators, nothing fancy. Smoothed it out, tightened it up, and the thing runs. It runs. And, and the guys in the custom shop, I can't say enough for them, is just like, they know what it takes. So when somebody sends their 1911 or their XD or whatever, and they're like, hey, I'm a USPCA or whatever, IPSC shooter, whatever, they're like, okay, cool. Like, we got it. Enough said.
Exactly. So exactly. That's a perfect example of some of the knowledge base that's within the company. Yes, and other ways that I guess we get this information in is, we've obviously got we've got one of the best shooters in the world, Rob Latham, working with us. And social media has been huge. I mean, it's an industry changer. I mean, you can go through there, and there'll be. You don't necessarily take every single suggestion that might be offered, but you start seeing patterns. You start seeing, there's a pretty broad request or push or whatever for a certain product, and if you want to give the customers what they want, then you start making inroads to get that product made.
What's that like, the inroads, as far as, is there an algorithm that you track? Is there, if there is, and we're not asking for any kind of secret sauce or anything, but where does that start? Does that start with you? Does that start with, somebody else that says, hey, we've had this, and this might be something to look at, and then you hand it over to whoever, Dave or whoever, and be like, hey, let's put pen to paper on this and see if it'll work. I mean, there's a cost analysis and everything that goes into it, but,
really,
And that's something you hit on something that I've always kind of wondered, like, how did so and so come up with this idea? Like, was this just like you lock a guy in a white padded room with a pad of paper and a calculator, and all of a sudden he slides
You
this,
can't come out.
he slides it under the door,
So
and you're
something
like,
new
"Come on,"
exists.
you
Right.
know?
No, I mean, pretty much the way we do it, it's not really a big secret. I mean, we'll get together in a meeting room, and we'll just basically have a free, open kind of session. Talk on a high level about what kind of trends we see in the market, what kind of things that we think would be apropos for Springfield Armory brand to put out. What things do we have the capability to make, logistically, and we'll start with a big list, and we'll include many different people, including our reps and dealers and people who are in contact with our customers every day, and then we'll just start to kind of hone it down to a list. So we'll have we'll number it in order of priority. We know we got to do this. Number 1, number 20. This would be really cool, but it's not really anything that
Right.
we're going to spend a ton of time on right now.
Yep.
And but who knows? Next year, maybe that moves up to be a more important
Priority and
priority.
okay.
Sure. So really, it's just carefully putting together a bunch of people's thoughts and opinions on what products should come out. Making sure that there is a place and a market for those items. Obviously, there's always a risk, right?
Yep.
And then when we do decide that we're going to do something, making sure that we fully understand that platform, and we fully understand and test and make absolutely sure that that's going to be the best product that we can put out.
Okay. Let's talk about the XDS, the 45, and the recall with it. I still see stuff floating around. Is that obviously, Springfield's, whatever the problem was, I don't even remember what it was anymore, but is that pretty much, is that secure? Is are you still getting pistols in? Do we still?
That was before my
Okay.
time. Are you talking about the Mod
Yeah.
1
Yep,
45? That was before my time, and I mean, I don't even hear hide nor hair of
Okay.
it.
And the only reason why I ask is because, I always get asked, like at the ranges around here and just in conversation, if that's still a thing. And I don't know what relevancy it has, but, for the guys and people that do ask, that listen, thought I'd try to run that one to ground and see if there's anything on it.
Just like any other one of our products. If anyone's ever having any issues with it, we take it, no questions asked. We'll take it in and make it right.
Cool. I want to talk about shoulder-fired guns for a minute. So the M1A is a flagship, right? I'm not 100% as versed in them as I would probably like to be, but I speak the black gun pretty well, as a lot of people in the industry do. What about bolt guns? Is there any interest to maybe partner or team with somebody with Springfield, or as far as Springfield's concerned? Because, you see a lot of people at Perry. Perry's always been a thing for Springfield, always.
Mhm. Absolutely.
And that is revolving mainly around the M1A. I mean, that's, growing up, as a 8-year-old kid, like, I associated Oakley sunglasses with Springfield Armory. Why? Because everybody there had them. I thought Springfield Armory was the only 1911 manufacturer on the planet. Why? Because, I lived here and I saw it, as well as the M1A. It wasn't until I got in the Marine Corps and our DMRs, had M1s, and, then you saw, when you get put on a ship, you see the Navy guys shooting the on-rep monkey fists over to, and I'm like, so really they're super accurate, reliable. Have you thought about taking that to the bolt gun arena?
Absolutely. I mean, it's something we're definitely discussing internally when that would happen.
Who knows?
Not really privy to say,
Right.
but I would say I would definitely say you're in probably good chance to keep your eye open over the next few years, and you may see something moving in that direction.
He just woke up. He just woke up.
That's interesting. Interesting. No, it's a space that more companies are playing in. It's definitely getting crowded. There's a big precision push, kind of a rejuvenation.
PRS
in a
is
lot
huge.
PRS is definitely at the forefront of that, and there's some other things that are going on as well. And I think it's a different type of outlet that people are learning because it allows you to shoot in a different way than what you would shoot with a pistol, and a lot of times a black rifle. And I always think of it as when I go out to shoot precision, I'm going not necessarily to an event, but I'm going on some sort of adventure because you can end up some really beautiful places shooting, especially if you get to shoot long distances. I mean, there's the scenery and everything that otherwise with pistols we end up on sometimes smaller ranges or indoor ranges, which I don't even like going to indoor ranges anymore. Sometime that happens with the black gun too, but it seems like precision and long distance stuff has opened up this whole new world as far as the environment that you're in as well.
Sure.
And it's nice for companies and shooters to capitalize on that.
I completely agree.
Yeah. So it sounds like maybe there's a possibility.
Sounds like
it's not.
A lot of places it's hard to find enough range though.
It's difficult here.
You'd believe it or not. Even I'm coming from Virginia. You would think the rolling hills of Virginia.
Right.
I mean, you'd be hard pressed to find a 200-yard range.
Wow.
Good.
Well, and
Yeah,
that's the case around here. I use the Socknock range just north of town here, right next to the machine shop, and it's like 300 I think is about the most you can stretch, and that's over the hills and through the woods, and trucking up a ravine to set a piece of steel up.
Sure.
So it's I mean if you have the land, if you have those areas to do it, and in Milan, I mean we can stretch 600 in Milan, so and that's for PRS guys. That's like, all right, we done confirming our yard line dope. Let's where we're going to shoot. So, super cool. I'm gonna keep my eye out for that. He's been bugging me into the bolt gun stuff and trying to get me into it. Again, I've been more of a gas gun guy, so.
Not true. I've only opened your eyes a time or two. That's all.
That's right.
The M1. So since we're on that, let's talk about the M1A and the 6.5 Creedmoor. We made that switch. What do you know about why that decision was made to go down that path?
Just really basically because the popularity of the 6.5. I mean, it's just it's something that we've been watching and noting, and it's really not a huge deal for us to just rebarrel an M1A, and the platform itself is a great platform for accuracy, and after making one in 6.5, taking it out, shooting it, and testing it, we were just like, boy, this is a no-brainer. I mean, this is a done deal, and it's gotten a lot of great feedback.
So was it just rebarreling? Were there any other dynamics that changed that maybe no one really realized would happen? Was there something that needed a lot of change? Like, whoa, this is bad, so we need to look at doing this a little differently, or was it literally just
it was
new caliber?
It was just rechambering. That's all.
Okay.
It was just new barrel and bolt.
Nice.
So
Nice.
Might have been some other minor
Right.
engineering tweaks that had to happen, but nothing like we had to reinvent the wheel or anything like that.
Right.
So I just think it lends itself really well to the platform.
Awesome.
Cool.
For sure. I mean, it makes that M1A 1,000-yard gun.
Right. Wow.
So
I haven't shot one yet.
Neither
so
have I, and it's
looking forward.
you mentioned that.
to do that.
You mentioned that when we were eating uptown a couple weeks ago, and I would be lying if I said that I spent a whole bunch of time at Springfield's booth and shot. I never do, just because if I have a question, I can typically pick up the phone and call and see and have a good rapport with the Armory to come in and take a look at stuff. So I regret not coming to get my hands on it. while out in Vegas. But yeah, we're gonna look forward to shooting it and putting that through its paces.
If you guys want to do a run through on it, just let us know and we'll send one out for you.
Awesome.
Sounds good to me.
I mean, the ammo's really cheap. So.
Yeah, that's what I hear. That's what he says. That's what he says. Yeah. Like all ammo now.
Yeah, right.
So making the move from Virginia to good old the Quad City area, man. Drastic change of pace, isn't it?
Oh yeah, big time.
Wow. I spent my entire enlistment in the Virginia Beach area, and then came back and then moved back out there for about 6 years, and then coming back here again. Something you said that about the gun laws. Illinois gun laws are I don't there's not a word to describe them. Contradictory, emotion driven. I don't know.
Sure.
Even in Northern Virginia, where you were, like it's an NFA state. How different, being that close to the capital, how much more pro second, and I'm using that term just as a general encompassing term, than Northern Illinois is about as far away from Chicago on the northern side as you can get. Why are the laws like they are?
Yeah,
when you have a head of the most powerful country on the planet miles from you, and that state still trusts its citizens with guns, whereas it's like we're chasing our tails. Where and I'm not asking from a Springfield perspective. I'm asking from your perspective.
Just a citizen living there. Well, I mean, you also got to remember that when you live in Northern Virginia, you've got Washington D.C., which is, the most draconian, awful gun laws in the entire country, and then you've got Maryland, which is just as bad. Almost, probably almost as bad as Illinois.
Wow.
And maybe not quite as bad, but very close. I think it's just the fact that Virginia has managed to retain that Republican majority, but the problem is that very much like Chicago doesn't speak for all of Illinois by far.
Right.
Northern Virginia doesn't speak for all of Virginia. However, it is very powerful, and it wields a massive amount of population, which is kind of I think the issue that you have with Chicago. So there's a lot of likenesses, I think, between the two, and Virginia used to be very, very red, and now it's getting more and more purple.
Right. I like that. More and more purple. I haven't heard that. So you live across the river in Davenport, Bettendorf?
I live in Bettendorf, Iowa.
Cool.
Yeah.
How is that as far as the traffic and?
Oh, it's great. I'm loving it.
Didn't Iowa have some strange gun laws?
They used to. Well, when I say they used to, I'm basing that off of they legalized suppressors. So just in the last few years.
Just recently did that. But everything else is good to go,
I
right?
think so. I don't know anything to the contrary.
Yeah. Okay.
I talk a lot of smack about moving across the river or moving to Texas and stuff, just because it's just that emotional roller coaster of, oh, we're going to go after ARs, oh, we're going high capacity magazines, and no, you can't have suppressors. Why? Because we said. Like it blows my mind.
Sure.
Another topic for another time, though. So one last thing, and we'll get you out of here, man. The Saint. They released it the first generation of the Saint 2 years ago, right? Or
just about
in April would be 2 years ish.
Mm-hmm.
Why the wait? Why that you know of? I know it was before you got here.
Sure.
Why did it take so long? Was it seeing the trends in the market? Was it was just like, you know what, let's do this? Like people are asking for it.
Or maybe maybe you didn't want to be a Me Too. I mean, there's could be a lot of things.
Yeah, like you said, that was before I came on board at Springfield Armory. You know, it's a it's kind of a strange kind of a strange time, I guess you could say, to come out with an AR. I just think that Springfield and and Denny and the leadership at the time, we kind of know that we're really good at taking what might already be available on the market and making it better,
Right.
and bringing it in at a better price point, at a higher quality level, and I believe that there's always going to be a place in the market for a company that can do that.
Well, and that's it.
And really to that end, our Saints are still moving well.
Well, and I was just going to say that, like, I was on deployment and came back, and Evan Hafer and I had a meeting with Denny right before the Saint was released. I think it was in February. And talking about other things completely unrelated, but as we were walking out, he's like, "Hey, keep your ear low to the ground because we're getting ready to do something huge." And I'm thinking it's redesign the XD or redesigned a 1911 or something to that effect. Just again, like we said, beginning the conversation, it was like me knowing Springfield Armory, stepping outside of that comfort zone is not something that I saw, that I observed throughout the years. In almost 38 years of living here or being from here. So when the Saint hit the market, I'm like, if I'm being honest, I'm like, oh, here, it's going to be an overly priced black gun, like straight up. And that was my thought. Again, I'm overseas, and I get home and I pick one up and I run it through its paces, and I'm like, dang, like and saw the price point on it. That was impressive in itself.
Sure. And like you said, black guns well, and it's getting it right from the beginning.
Yep.
Making sure that things are staked properly, making sure that things are particle tested, and just all the MPI tested, and making sure that finishes are what they need to
Yep.
be, and just all the little things that many of the competitors out there still are not
Right.
doing.
They're just pumping them out the door to do it.
Sure.
One thing that when I picked it up, Dave Williams actually brought it out to me, and I'm like, hey, just letting you know, I'm going to put a can on this. And he's like, and I'm like, well, we're going to run it through its paces. And it just had the typical A-frame on it, the A-frame, gas block front sight housing, and screwed the Silencer Co. Meg on it, and it performed without a hitch. And so I brought it back. He's like, really? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, all right, cool. Like, and we did something right then. And Dave's, he's lived here for 30-something years, and he still talks like he's from West Texas. It's great. But
no, it's nice because, a lot of times people will just overgas the heck out of the gun, and then it'll run great with everything,
Yep.
right? But yeah, I mean, really try to, especially Dave and those guys, they really try to. I mean, I see them back there. They constantly test, and they're constantly trying out different size ports and different, like, what if we put this on it? Is it going to run this? Is it? So there's really a lot of thought put into it. They really do a lot of diligence, and a lot of late nights, and a lot of headaches and heartaches trying to get things to be
where they need to be,
best
right,
that they can possibly be. Not just, hey, this looks pretty good, let's go ahead and ship
Yep.
it.
And that holds true with all the products, right? I mean, pistols,
Totally.
ARs, M1As.
It's just kind of a thing that runs throughout the culture of the company. Not putting out a well tested, highest quality item that we can possibly, and everybody says that we put out the highest quality item. It becomes, but it truly is like a mantra,
right.
there. It's low quality, untested, firearms will not come out of that company.
Right on. Cool.
I like it.
I think that's that's all we have. We do appreciate you coming in.
Thank you.
I would like to, as we talked about before, between us, the brass tacks in Springfield Armory, I would like to kind of keep that momentum going forward. There's been a reason as to why I haven't, why we haven't done a whole lot of talking to, with Denny and whoever, just because I'm from here, and trying to break that small town mentality mold is difficult at times. But after our conversation, a couple weeks ago, man, like, you and I both speak kind of the same language as far as the hissing and the grunting stuff from the big green gun club that we were both in, and moving forward. So yeah, man, we're definitely excited to see what Springfield has to come out with here in the future, whether it be sooner or later.
Well, I appreciate you guys having me, and anytime there's anything we can do, or if you any information that we can impart on you, or please feel free to reach out.
Yeah.
And we're literally around the corner,
Yep,
right?
absolutely. So yeah, with the 911s, I sent an email to Deb a while ago, and requesting a couple, one for me and one for him, so we can kind of. One thing that we like to do is like get my perspective here and get his perspective, whole different range, whole different zip code, and we'll meet in the middle, so that way it's not a. Again, like we've talked about, what we try to do is create value with value.
Yeah, give it a different perspective. Yep. With his background, what he continues to do, it'll be a little different from how I utilize it, or where I see it fitting in what I do. So and other people.
Yep.
So we like to have those other perspectives.
Yeah. So that's kind of what we're working towards, man. So
Nobody asked for that.
no.
Nobody asked for this.
How dare we? How dare we? Oh, speaking of that, where are we at on the XDM 10 millimeter, Steve? That was a facetious question.
I have heard that question once or twice before.
There was a bus coming, and I believe you pushed them in.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not trying to put
that's
you.
That's going to be my
Nope.
story.
It is coming.
Cool. And there you have it, folks. It's coming. So let's not blow everything up with the 10 millimeter hand cannon.
We'll do this 10 millimeter thing another time.
For the
'cause I
amount-
have questions now.
Here's what I have to say about that. For the amount of outroar,
Outrage.
for outrage,
I'll say it. Springfield Armory did not say it.
/ outcry for this 10 millimeter. These things better be back ordered for a
Right.
decade.
And he and I have talked about the 10 millimeter. Sean, send it. Send it. What do you have?
I got nothing. This is another topic, another time. I don't get this whole 10 millimeter thing. I try, and I just don't get it.
Have you shot the TRP 10 millimeter?
No, I
the
have
one
not.
That we just came out with?
I honestly have not.
Yeah, I mean, to tell you the truth, I've never been interested in the 10 millimeter.
Right.
It's never been on my radar screen. I wasn't against it. I just never had any exposure to it. Boy, it's a beast. I mean, we did a writers event out in Vegas with it, and I mean, at 100 yards, we were smacking the little hostage plate on one of those action targets. Wow. I'd say 7 out of 10 times.
Is it a beast
and
in
when
a
it
good
and
way,
when
though?
it hits it, I mean, it's not just like
It's carrying.
Well, I get that.
I mean,
I get
it
that.
rocks it.
But is it a beast in a good way? Because I'm just trying to figure out. We were talking about the trends in carry now.
Sure.
So what does that 10 millimeter market even look like? Sidearm for hunting, something like that,
Or
right?
primary for hunting.
Primary for hunting, yes, that
If
too.
it's a breach in Illinois, if it's a breach break, garbage, single single shot, anyhow,
Yeah.
going down a different.
I mean,
road.
you're talking about a 200 grain bullet that is just screaming.
Right.
I mean, it is just. I mean, these things will. I mean, they're bear killers for lack of a better term. So it's a. Yeah, I mean, it's a legit. It's a legit hunting round. It's a legit defense round. I think it's gonna have its. It's gonna have its.
Pig
hunting.
Yeah.
We should do that. We should do that with Springfield. We should put together a pig hunt in Georgia with nothing but TRP 10 millimeters.
I'm down.
That would be amazing. So Sean and I did a
and we have got a variant coming out of that 10 millimeter. I can't really speak in detail about, but within the next couple months, that will make it even more fun.
Oh, I like fun. I like fun and I like different. All right, cool. Well, there you have it. I wanna chop this 10 millimeter up too. So expect an email on Monday.
Like it.
Awesome. Well, Steve, we definitely appreciate it, man.
Yeah, Steve, thanks for your time.
It's
Yeah, thank you guys.
you know, it's again with what we're trying to do here is unscripted conversation that's directly pertaining to the industry. I think having you in here representing or talking as it pertains to Springfield is huge because of that brand loyalty, of the following, and it's a no-brainer because you're right. You're 2.5 miles. So, we're probably do this again as time goes on and as new things come
Sure.
out.
Anytime you guys would like, just give me a shout.
Really cool, man. So, with that said, we are out of here. This is Scott and Sean and Steve Kramer from